Happy 10th birthday to you, the Garden Church. Hi, I'm Reverend Asher, and I got involved there and was part of the transition back when Reverend Anna was ending her time with you. I remember one Sunday when I was preaching there. The pages that my sermon was written on blew out of my hands as I was running to my car to make the drive there. And typically I preach using a full written out script. So it was pretty unnerving for me to try and remember my sermon with nothing sitting in front of me. But when I got stumped and I lost my words, our neighbor George helped me. He piped up and drove a point home until I could find my footing and my place again. As we sang every Sunday, God is here. And I learned in that moment that what mattered most was not the absence of my sermon manuscript or even the preparation that I had done for the sermon, but it was the presence of God in our neighbor George. It's interesting that the sermon was for Christ the King Sunday, and that's a Sunday when we reflect on what kind of king was Christ? A surprising one, an odd one. He was unhoused. Scriptures tell us that he had no place to lay his head. As a child, he and his family were forced to flee their home and live as refugees and immigrants. And so too, the Garden Church is a surprising, odd kind of church. It's a place where rainbow chard replaces stained glass windows, and God's word merges together with the noise of the world, where prayers are planted and grow up through the dirt, where strangers become neighbors, and in neighbors we encounter God. Thank you so much for existing. Happy birthday.
Happy anniversary from your friends and siblings up in the San Francisco Bay Area. It's wonderful to see all the great forms of ministry that you guys have developed down there. You've been an inspiration to us. I still remember my very first service at the Garden Church, which was before that beautiful property was obtained, and we were meeting out in a park, and it was just this really beautiful experience of being out there in nature. And it's inspired us, and I know others, to more fully embrace the wonderful nature spirituality that exists within our Swedenborgian tradition and to integrate that more deeply into our ministries. We had a garden ministry here as well. It was very much inspired by what you've been doing down there. And we're just excited to continue working together and growing together as we make Swedenborgian ministry happen on the West Coast. So many blessings from all of us, and thanks for all you do.
Hello, Garden Church friends, and happy 10th birthday. This is an amazing milestone for the Garden Church, and it's an incredible testament to the time and talents and the blood, sweat, and tears that all of you have put into the Garden Church. And the Garden Church holds a special place in my heart from my time at Wayfarers and coming over to the garden and enjoying a meal together, having worship together. It is truly an incredible place, and it is inspiring in ways that continue to transform and develop. And I hope that all of you know that your work and your efforts to sustain the Garden Church are appreciated from those far and wide. And I am so excited to be celebrating with you all. So happy birthday. I hope you guys get to enjoy a good celebration.
As we gather, may your spirit work within us. As we gather, may we glorify your name, knowing well that as our hearts begin to worship, we'll be blessed because we can. We'll be blessed because we can. Sending happy birthday love from my little gardening.
Amazing to think about how that little seed was planted over 10 years ago, and I have such gratitude for so many of you who nurtured it early on and took a risk, and then so many more of you, especially the leadership, who has faithfully nurtured it and cared for it and let it grow into its own over this past decade. My heart is so full thinking about the many, many people who have been feeding and been fed and have been part of bringing a little bit more heaven to earth there in San Pedro, and how it's stretched out across the world. I have so many memories when I think about the Garden Church, and the kind of consistent theme as I've been reflecting is that the theological concept of God being everywhere and in all things and right here present with us is something that was and is so alive at the Garden Church. And so many of my memories have to do with those miracle moments, which I think are really happening all the time, and yet are able to be seen and experienced in a different way within that intention, within those walls and beyond. So I offer so many blessings from a noisy city hotel room, which is where I'm doing this video, so antithetical to the Garden Church, and yet also a reminder that God is everywhere and in all things. So I offer my blessings, my gratitude, my celebrations to each and every one of you, and may God continue to bless and nourish all who are within the orbit of the Garden Church and beyond.
Hi, everyone. This is Jane Siebert, Reverend Jane Siebert. So I'm a part of the beginning, and I'd like to go back just a bit to share some memories with you and to congratulate you all. 10 years. Who would have dreamt? You know, I was looking back at some of our notes and minutes. We started with a P.O. box. Anna's house was, her home was where we had our office. It was really a dream, Anna's dream, and we worked to help her make it happen. Her initial board came from all around the U.S. I'm from Kansas. There was somebody from Michigan, or from Massachusetts, some from around the California area. I had the first group was Jana Carter, Emma Oliver, Amy Gail Ritchie, Rebecca Esterson, Jennifer Lindsay, Catherine Carr came on quickly, and I offered to serve as chair, the first chair for the Garden Church Board. And we were a startup board, knowing that soon the decisions would be passed on to the local people that became members. But we had that dream that Anna shared with us, and the enthusiasm spread. So we started looking for money, looking for land. I have notes back from a retreat, one of the first retreats, which was actually in September of 2014, part of the planning process. Any of you that know Anna know she's a planner, she's a recorder. She came up with a budget when it was just a guess in a pond, but a guess that she had the knowledge to work on, and worked with Jennifer Lindsay as treasurer to come up with how much we were going to need to raise to make this dream a reality. I also had just a note from that first meeting. We did what was called a mapping project, and we went around San Pedro thanks to the help of Emma. And this is just a little bit about that really quick. So Emma Oliver led the board in a community mapping project. 2 by 2, we went out to specific streets of San Pedro to take note of the resources, the obstacles, the possible locations, bus lines, markets, demographics, how we felt welcome, etc. We took an hour to walk about 4 to 6 blocks on the designated streets. San Pedro is well suited for the Garden Church because of its proximity to Wayfarers Chapel, but also a high homeless and economically challenged population. Weather conditions are favorable for year-round outdoor gatherings, which I know you've all had to adapt to sometimes. There's a high population of formerly churched, spiritually independent, and ecumenical partnerships. San Pedro has a desire to be its own entity apart from the LA city, and God told Anna, go to San Pedro. And so this is where we were and where we started. That first meeting we had, again, was a dreaming time. We also came back for meetings. I have record. We went to one of the first meetings that was held in the park next to the ocean. There also, it was a dream being born, and the hope that people would be attracted to what Anna had to offer and to what a garden church conception for a church, the uniqueness of that offered everyone. And it did. We met in a park beside the ocean. They were meeting every other week for a while with the goal, with Easter coming, for things to get started. So with Easter, things did get going, and you're celebrating 10 years. And as I just look back at the number of people and the benefit of being a part of the Swedenborgian denomination and the gifts that were offered through both our worshiping communities and through the denomination and through all the individuals that believed in this dream, it happened and continues to happen because of the work that you all are doing there now. So I just want to say thank you, and thank you especially to Amanda and the dream that she carries forth and the work that she does. Blessings. Thank you all, and congratulations.
Birthday Garden Church. My name's Rebecca Esterson. I'm the Dean of the Swedenborgian Seminary, coming to you from Berkeley, California. I had the wonderful pleasure of being on the startup board for the Garden Church 10 years ago. And as I was thinking back to that year and that beginning, I was realizing it's all a little bit fuzzy. And why is that a bit of a hazy year for me? Well, I had a baby that year. So my daughter is also turning 10 years old this year. And it's fun to think about the Garden Church and my beautiful daughter being the same age. Here we are 10 years later, and how much has come of this vision of the Garden Church. What a gift it is to the local community there in San Pedro and to all of us around the world who get to be a part of it and who get to view the garden as a model for other ways we might do church in the world. A garden that's a church that's a garden, a place where people can come and be connected to the land and be connected to each other and be connected to God, be connected to a holy center in our midst. I'm so grateful to Anna for her initial vision for this church and for all of the work of those first years. I'm grateful to Reverend Amanda, to Pastor Connie, to Reverend Brown, to Reverend Jonathan Mitchell, to all of the leaders who have been a part of steering the ship, the musicians, the volunteers, the gardeners, the composters, the people who come to pray and to play and to grow. So beautiful. My family and I are honored to be able to make a monthly pledge to the Garden Church to support it going forward for another 10 years. And I encourage everyone who's a part of this community to think about how they can support this work and how we might take this vision of a church that's a garden and replicate it in other ways and other contexts. Happy birthday. And let's keep it growing for another 10 years. Thank you.
Hello, Garden Church. Happy birthday! I cannot believe it has been 10 years. I'm so impressed. Wow. I mean, it feels like it was yesterday. I can still remember Anna Woofending finding me and saying, I have this idea. It's a church, but it's not in a building. It doesn't have walls. It's outside, and there's nature and maybe food growing. And she was looking for help with the green part, the nature part, and the growing of food part, because that's what I like to do. And I remember thinking, yes, we are going to make this happen. This is happening. I am going to be a part of this. And it was one of the best decisions of my life. I loved being a part of the beginning of the Garden Church. It was a very powerful and meaningful experience for me. And we made it happen through a lot of planning and with so much help from so many people. And many of you are still a part of the day-to-day community of the Garden Church. And I'm just so grateful to have been a part of it. You have spent this time growing roots in both literally and figuratively, and just nurturing both this oasis of nature in our community and our community spirit, and feeding people delicious food. And it's just been a very powerful thing. And you have done this in interesting times. So my hat's off to all of you that are continuing to make the Garden Church thrive and grow here in our town. Keep doing it. And I look forward to seeing you celebrate many more milestones. And I have faith in you. And thank you so much for letting me be a part of your community.